The Count of Monte Cristo was written by Alexandre Dumas and first published in 1844. The story takes place in France in the early 1800s. This was a time of big changes after the French Revolution, Napoleon, and when the kings came back to power. Things were changing quickly in politics, and people didn't trust each other. The book tells the story of Edmond Dantes, a young sailor from Marseille. He has a good life ahead of him, but it is suddenly ruined by jealousy and betrayal. Dumas, inspired by real events, shows how wanting power and secret plans can trap an innocent person. The story has hidden treasure, disguises, and big fights, but it is also about human feelings: love, anger, sadness, and a strong need for justice. As Edmond struggles with the unfairness he faces, readers see how one act of betrayal can push someone to their limits. The historical details make the story feel real, but the main idea is something everyone can understand. What happens when a man, once kind and trusting, gets the power to punish those who hurt him? Will this search for revenge set him free from the past, or will it keep him tied to it forever?
Part 1. The Betrayal and Imprisonment.
Edmond Dantes has a great career. He is about to become the captain of the ship Pharaoh because he is hardworking and skilled. The ship owner, Morel, trusts him completely. Morel is happy with Edmond's abilities, and the other sailors like him too. Edmond is also happy in his personal life because he is going to marry Mercedes, a sweet and loving young woman. She loves Edmond very much and can't imagine a life without him. They are planning to marry soon, and everything seems perfect. But even in these happy times, there are feelings of jealousy and hidden anger. Danglars, who works on the ship, is jealous of Edmond's quick success because it means Danglars will not become captain himself. At the same time, Fernand Mondego wants to marry Mercedes, and he is very jealous of Edmond. He sees Edmond as someone in his way. Their anger grows when they see how easily Edmond does his job and how much everyone likes him. While the country is worried about any sign of people supporting Napoleon, Danglars makes a dangerous plan to get Edmond into trouble. He writes a fake letter saying that Edmond is carrying secret information from Napoleon, who is living on the island of Elba. Fernand, because he wants Mercedes, helps with this plan. Another man, Caderousse, sees part of the plan but does nothing because he is too weak or scared to stop it. They all meet in a small bar where Danglars writes the letter that will cause Edmond's downfall. On the day Edmond is celebrating his new job, the police arrive and arrest him. He is taken to Villefort, a local official who first thinks that Edmond is just an innocent messenger who knows nothing about any plot. But Villefort quickly realizes that the letter mentions his own father, who is secretly supporting Napoleon. Villefort is afraid of a scandal that could ruin his career because he is loyal to the king, so he decides that Edmond must be locked away to keep this secret hidden. Villefort is terrified of what it might do to his reputation, so he sends Edmond to the terrible prison of Château d'If, an island prison near Marseille. Edmond is put into a small, dark cell. He cannot understand why he has been arrested, and he cannot defend himself. The prison has thick stone walls, damp hallways, and guards who think of the prisoners as hopeless. Years pass, and Edmond tries to stay sane. At first, he thinks he might be freed if the truth comes out, but no one helps him. Morel tries to help but is stopped by the authorities. Mercedes looks for answers but finds nothing. Edmond is left alone, and his sadness turns into anger. He feels deeply betrayed and wonders how the world can be so cruel. Things change when Edmond hears tapping sounds through the wall of his cell. He realizes that another prisoner is trying to dig a tunnel to escape. After talking carefully for days, Edmond meets Abbé Faria, an Italian priest who has also been locked up for many years. The guards think Faria is crazy because he talks about a hidden treasure. But Faria is actually a very smart scholar who teaches Edmond many things, from languages and science to philosophy and how to think strategically. Slowly, Edmond figures out how he was framed, learning about the roles of Danglars, Fernand, and Villefort in his imprisonment. Faria tells Edmond about a huge treasure on the island of Monte Cristo, showing him a coded paper that explains how to find it. He also tells Edmund to be patient and to plan for a time when they might both escape. Over the years, Faria becomes like a father to Edmund, teaching him and giving him a new purpose. Edmund changes from a naive, hopeful young man into someone determined and intelligent. But his hope is crushed again when Faria has a serious illness and knows he will soon die. In his final moments, Faria gives Edmund the exact instructions for finding the treasure. He tells Edmund to use his life for something important, not just to seek revenge. When Faria dies, Edmund is very sad, but he also has a clear reason to live. Soon, he makes a daring plan, switching places with Faria's body to get out of his cell. Sewn into the burial sack and thrown into the sea, Edmund manages to escape. It is a frightening moment, but his will to live is stronger than his fear. Once he is free, Edmund is found by smugglers who believe his story that he is an unlucky sailor. For a while, he works with them, hiding who he really is. When they sail near Monte Cristo, Edmund cleverly finds a way to go ashore. Following Faria's map, he finds the hidden riches and is amazed by a fortune bigger than he could imagine. This wealth will allow him to return to the world with power. More importantly, it gives him the means to do whatever he wants. He can reward those who were loyal to him or punish those who betrayed him. From this time on, Edmond Dantes begins his transformation into the Count of Monte Cristo.
Part 2. The Count's Rise and the Search for Justice.
Returning to Marseille in disguise, Edmond first checks on the people he used to know. Morel, his old shipowner, is having money problems and is almost ruined. Feeling grateful for Morel's past kindness, Edmond secretly uses some of his treasure to pay Morel's debts and save his business. Morel never finds out who helped him. He only knows that someone acted like a guardian angel for his family. Edmond is touched by their relief, but he does not reveal himself yet. Still wanting to stay hidden, he wants to see how others are doing before deciding what to do next. Edmund learns that, during his long time in prison, those who betrayed him have become successful. Danglars has become a rich banker in charge of big investments. Fernand, now called Fernand Mondego, became famous in the military, married Mercedes, and is now the Count de Morcerf. Villefort has also done well in his legal career, becoming an important official in Paris. Meanwhile, poor Caderousse still lives in Marseille, feeling guilty about what he did. Edmund's heart aches when he learns that Mercedes believed he died in prison and that she eventually agreed to marry Fernand, who offered to protect her when she had no one else. After carefully observing, Edmund travels around Europe for several years, becoming known as a mysterious and powerful man and making important friends. People are drawn to his wealth, generosity, and good manners, but they know very little about where he comes from. He starts calling himself the Count of Monte Cristo, a title connected to his discovered fortune. Rumors spread about his exotic background, connections with Italy and the East, and unusual knowledge of herbal medicine and strange customs. Some find him intimidating, others are fascinated. When Edmond finally arrives in Paris, he quietly contacts those who once knew him as Edmond Dantes, but they do not recognize him. He looks older and has an air of authority. Many are simply curious about the Count's huge wealth. He buys a grand house, furnishes it beautifully, and hosts fancy dinners. Among the guests are members of the Danglars family, the Villefort family, and Fernand de Morcerf's friends. Edmond studies them, noticing how they treat their families and how they talk about their past. He also looks for signs of shame or guilt that they might show if they remember his name. The emotional burden on Edmond grows heavier as he sees Mercedes again after so many years. She is still elegant, but she has a sad look in her eyes. She suspects something unusual about the Count of Monte Cristo. His voice, perhaps, or the way he sometimes looks at her. Yet she cannot allow herself to believe that her once-lost love might be standing before her, changed so much that she doesn't recognize him. Edmond feels a surge of anger when he sees that she is now married to the man who betrayed him, but he also still feels a hint of the old love they shared. This mix of pain and longing sets the tone for Edmond's silent battle with his own emotions. At the same time, Edmond also starts to find allies. those who were kind or neutral or simply caught up in the treachery. Among them is Maximilien Morel, the honorable son of Morel, who has grown into a brave young man. Edmund sees in Maximilien some of the same energy and honesty he once had. He also meets Valentine, Villefort's kind daughter from his first wife. She is trapped in a family full of secrets and plotting. Villefort's current wife is determined to get wealth for her own son, and she will do anything to achieve it. Watching Valentine's kindness, Edmund feels protective towards her. As the Count, Edmund starts a series of financial and social moves. He manipulates Danglars' bank deals so that Danglars loses large sums of money, making him less confident and powerful. He reveals evidence about Fernand's past military betrayal, damaging his reputation. He also tricks Villefort into revealing his hidden affairs and a shocking family secret, a son he fathered with Madame Danglars a long time ago. The son was almost abandoned as a baby but survived. Each piece of the puzzle is slowly brought to light, and Edmund watches the consequences. He believes these punishments are similar to the harm they caused him, but on a larger scale. Despite his planned steps, Edmund sometimes hesitates. He wonders if he is acting under the guidance of divine justice or simply giving in to personal revenge. The more he sees real human consequences, grief, confusion, and desperation, the more he questions his role. Yet he has gone too far to turn back. He has built a complex web, and each move leads to bigger confrontations. He cannot walk away without seeing the plan through to the end.
Part 3. The Cost of Vengeance and Emotional Struggles.
Over time, Edmund's plans have big consequences. Danglars loses a lot of money in his banking business. His daughter's engagement is in trouble, and people don't respect him as much. Fernand is accused of betraying Ali Pasha, a Greek leader who trusted him. In a public hearing, proof of Fernand's lies comes out, and his family is dishonored. Mercedes realizes the Count of Monte Cristo is Edmund, the man she thought was lost forever. She begs him to spare her son, Albert, who is innocent. Edmund, touched by her plea, agrees and even offers Albert a chance to keep his dignity. At the same time, Villefort's worst secrets are revealed all at once. His hidden child, Benedetto, appears as a clever criminal, showing Villefort's hypocrisy in court. Madame de Villefort, obsessed with getting the inheritance for her son, uses poison to kill relatives who stand in his way. When Edmund learns that Valentine's life is in danger, he steps in, saving her by making it look like she is dead so she can safely escape the household. Valentine's deep love for Maximilien is similar to the kind of affection Edmund once had with Mercedes, which reminds him of the happiness he lost. These revelations ruin Villefort's public image as a strict, honest official. Humiliated, he tries to stay in control, but his wife's crimes push him to the edge. Realizing that Edmond Dantes is the Count of Monte Cristo, Villefort confronts him in a mix of anger and desperation. However, it is already too late. The illusions that once made Villefort powerful have crumbled. He loses his sanity when his family falls apart around him, leaving him with a feeling of total ruin. Fernand, stripped of honor, faces a duel with his son, Albert, and must accept the shame of his betrayal. He chooses a tragic end, unable to cope with what he has done. Mercedes, devastated by Fernand's downfall and the realization that Edmund's life was stolen, decides to leave everything behind. Edmund, remembering her devotion, arranges money to help her start over, although he knows their relationship can never be the same. At this moment, he feels the full force of how revenge has torn both their lives apart. Even though he succeeded in punishing Fernand, he cannot reclaim the lost love that once seemed so pure. As Danglars tries to run away with what is left of his wealth, Edmund's long reach catches up to him. Danglars is captured by an Italian bandit named Luigi Vampa, who is working with the Count. Forced to pay large sums for every bit of food and water, Danglars ends up almost penniless. Edmund confronts him in this miserable state, revealing that he was the very man Danglars once betrayed. Watching Danglars' pathetic regret, Edmund shows a hint of mercy, allowing him to survive with some dignity. Edmund feels no joy in seeing him suffer. Throughout these events, Edmund fights conflicting feelings. On one hand, he is pleased that each betrayer suffers a downfall connected to their original wrongdoing. On the other hand, he sees how innocent people are also harmed. This includes Valentine, who is almost killed, and Mercedes, whose life is overshadowed by guilt and sorrow. Even Albert, who is not personally to blame, is hurt by his father's disgrace. While Edmund remains firm in carrying out punishment, a part of him wonders if he is fulfilling some greater justice or simply unleashing a chain of tragedies. His carefully planned scheme often creates more suffering than he predicted. An important figure in Edmund's emotional journey is Haydée, the daughter of Ali Pasha, who was betrayed by Fernand. Edmund rescued her from slavery, gave her a new life, and treated her kindly. Over time, Haydée develops a deep affection for Edmund. She admires his strength and feels grateful for his protection. Her sincere warmth contrasts with the coldness in Edmund's heart, which is still consumed by his past hurt. Though he respects Haydée, Edmund initially holds himself back, uncertain whether he can open up to someone else after the betrayal he experienced and the countless schemes he has orchestrated. Yet, Haydée's loyalty touches him and provides a hint that a different future might be possible.
Part 4. Resolution and Reflections.
Once the main enemies have been defeated, Edmund starts to feel how empty his life has become. He spent years focused on revenge, carefully building a fortune, taking on a noble title, and pretending to be part of high society. But after he sees each betrayer ruined, he does not find the peace he expected. Instead, he notices that he has lost the ability to be the kind, open-hearted Edmond Dantes he once was. He has become an outsider, a man who can buy anything, yet cannot buy back the innocence and trust that were stolen from him. Valentine and Maximilian, who have done nothing wrong, become a symbol of hope for Edmund. He sees that their love is genuine and not tainted by jealousy or greed. They remind him of what he and Mercedes once had, and he is determined that they should not suffer as he did. That is why he arranges for Valentine to escape the poisoning plots in her home. He then reveals himself as her protector, ensuring that she and Maximilian can be together. Their happiness is a small redemption for Edmund, proof that he can still bring good into the world instead of just destruction. Before leaving France, Edmund makes peace with some of the lingering issues in Marseille. He quietly helps those who showed him compassion, such as Morel's family. He also makes an emotional farewell to Mercedes, acknowledging that their paths have diverged forever. Although there is sadness, there is no hatred between them. Mercedes heads off to find a simpler life, and Edmund sees that she, too, was a victim in many ways. Even though she married Fernand, she believed Edmund was gone, and she tried to survive in a harsh world. Ultimately, Edmund departs with Haydée by his side, sailing away from the place where he had once been so cruelly imprisoned and betrayed. He leaves behind letters instructing Maximilian and Valentine to wait and hope, reflecting the wisdom he gained over the years. Once, Edmund waited in prison, clinging to hope when everything else was lost. Later, he waited for the perfect moment to take his revenge. Now, he suggests that true wisdom may lie in waiting for life's changes without losing hope, instead of trying to control every outcome through cunning or force. He has learned that patience and hope are more powerful than revenge. He hopes that Valentine and Maximilian will learn this lesson as well, and that they will have a happier life than he has had. He is leaving behind the pain and bitterness of the past, hoping to find peace and happiness in the future. He has learned that revenge, while it might seem satisfying at the moment, ultimately leaves a person feeling empty. True happiness comes from love, compassion, and forgiveness. He is ready to embrace a new chapter in his life, leaving behind the darkness of the past and looking forward to a brighter future with Haydée. He has finally found a way to let go of the anger and hatred that consumed him for so many years, and he is ready to start anew, with a heart full of hope and a spirit ready to embrace the possibilities of the future. He has waited, and he has hoped, and now he is ready to live. He has learned that love and forgiveness are more important than revenge, and he is finally at peace. he is leaving behind the Count of Monte Cristo and embracing Edmond Dantes once again.
Part 5. Analysis and Insights.
This story focuses on deep emotions that people can still relate to, even though it's set a long time ago. Edmond's journey shows what happens when someone is falsely accused, how money can affect people, and whether revenge can ever truly heal old wounds. We see Edmond change from a naive sailor into a rich, calculating nobleman. This shows how anger and pain can change a person. He becomes knowledgeable, wealthy, and powerful, but he also loses much of the kindness and warmth he used to have. One important idea is the moral question of what Edmond does. We feel sorry for him because he was wrongly put in prison for a crime he didn't commit. We understand why he wants to see those who did this to him pay for what they did. But as he punishes them, innocent people, like Valentine, get caught up in the consequences. Mercedes, who once loved Edmond, suffers too, realizing she has been part of a family built on lies. Edmond's revenge plan, even though it is carefully planned, cannot perfectly separate the guilty from the innocent. This shows that justice mixed with personal anger often leads to unfair results. Dumas also makes us think about the limits of human justice. Edmond sees himself as someone doing God's work, as if his huge fortune and knowledge were given to him so he could fix the wrongs done to him. But the book suggests that this feeling of having a divine purpose can be dangerous. Judging people's lives requires complete fairness and clear thinking, but Edmond is driven by deep pain. Although he tries to be fair and even spares some people he believes don't deserve harm, things get out of his control. Families are torn apart, reputations are ruined, and bad things happen. Edmond learns that once he starts something, he cannot always control what happens next. Another key idea is how wealth changes Edmond. The treasure on Monte Cristo makes him powerful enough to control almost any situation. He can lend huge amounts of money, cause financial trouble for someone, or save someone from ruin whenever he wants. But this power also makes him isolated. He cannot reveal who he really is, because then his enemies might join forces against him, or he might lose the advantage of secrecy. Wealth also tempts people around him to try to get his favor. Only those who don't care about money, like Valentine or Maximilian, earn his trust. So Edmond's riches become both a weapon and a barrier, helping him carry out his plan, yet stopping him from making real connections with people. A sad part of the story is how Edmond's relationship with Mercedes changes. She was the symbol of his old life, innocent, loving, and full of hope. By the time Edmond returns, she has gone through her own heartbreak, believing Edmond was dead and forced to rely on Fernand. When she recognizes Edmond, she feels torn between happiness at seeing him alive and sadness at what he has become. Their meeting shows that some things can never be fully restored. The chance for a simple life together disappeared within the prison walls of the Château d'If. Although Edmond tries to show her compassion, he cannot undo the past. The book finally suggests that true healing is found in mercy, understanding, and the willingness to let go of hatred. Edmond's interactions with Haydée hint at a future where he might learn to love again. Haydée admires him not for his wealth, but for saving her from slavery. She also understands loss, since her father was betrayed by Fernand. In helping her, Edmond sees that he can still do good. When they leave France, we get a glimpse that he may find a life where compassion, not revenge, leads him forward. At the same time, we sense he will always carry the scars of his prison years. The phrase, "wait and hope," captures one of the book's main messages. Even when everything seems lost, patience and trust in a better future can guide a person more gently than anger and revenge. Edmond initially spent years waiting for his freedom, becoming bitter during that time. But as the Count, he also spent years carefully waiting for the right time to strike back. These experiences shaped him into someone who values patience. Yet, it is only at the end, when he shows kindness to those who remain, that we see him moving beyond just waiting for revenge. He begins to hope that life can offer something besides punishment. Overall, the story is both exciting and a warning. It warns that never-ending revenge can destroy not just the person it's aimed at, but also the person who seeks it. Edmond Dantes becomes successful in society and humbles those who hurt him, yet he loses the simplicity of who he used to be. The book celebrates resilience and resourcefulness. Edmond never gives up, even in the darkest prison cell, but it also makes us think about the cost of such determination when it is fueled by anger. In that sense, the Count of Monte Cristo remains relevant because it speaks to anyone who has ever felt wronged or trapped by situations they didn't create. It reminds us that wealth and power, no matter how great, cannot heal the deepest hurts alone. True healing seems to come when a person can forgive or at least move on without letting bitterness control them. The story's final image of Edmund sailing away suggests a new beginning. He has played God in some ways and now must live with the results of his actions. Yet in setting others free, like Valentine, Maximilian, and even Mercedes, he might finally free himself as well. Wait and hope.